Is theological study at Trinity College the next step for you? Rocco, the resident dog, thinks so. Whether you're looking to upskill, pivot, or embark on a brand new journey, find out all you need to know at the Trinity College Theological School Open House Tuesday, October 14. Get a glimpse into life as a student at Trinity College Theological School. You might even meet Rocco. Register today. Search Trinity College Theological School Open House. Faithful learning for faithful living.
I'm glad to say that this year, when I went through that heartbreak, I have become good at crying, Ash.
That's good.
I have said it's okay for me to sit in this, and I have been asking a lot of those questions. Okay, well, what is the pain of this? What is it teaching me? Because in this world, I will have trouble, and it doesn't mean I'm a good Christian if I never go through any hard stuff. And I think because I hadn't really gone through a lot of bad stuff, I'm an optimist. And so when you're an uber optimist and a positive person, even the hard stuff in life, you get past it pretty quickly. But I think it's sort of the downside to that for me a little bit was that maybe I didn't sit in things enough to get the lesson, to learn the wisdom. But it was just like, oh, it'll be fine tomorrow, and I would move on. And so both of those things about my mum dying and going through some of this heartbreak has really kind of sat with the whole idea that...
Welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Ash Couchman, and I cannot wait to find moments of joy with you today. I am so excited to be diving into the Word of God together today. Let's jump into the conversation.
Kate, welcome back to the podcast. Love having you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back.
What's been going on? What's been happening in life since we last saw you?
Well, it's spring, so garden time. I will tell you really quickly, disaster in the garden the other day.
Okay.
I looked out my side window into the garden, and my greenhouse with all my beautiful seeds was face down. Everything was everywhere. I kneeled in the dirt, literally, and I almost cried.
So just from the weather, from the wind or something?
It's a little greenhouse that I'd moved from the shed to get some sunlight during the day, but I forgot to put it back in the shed, and just the wind blew it over. And when you have maybe 500 seedlings and 20 different tomato plants, now I don't know what is what. I mean, I know a zucchini and a corn, that's fine. They're very different seedlings, but it's
you're just winging it when it comes to the seeds.
So that was a bit of a garden disaster.
No.
But now it'll be an adventure to see what survives and what pops up. Anyway, that it's life. It has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And then, doing a lot in terms of music, the Oz Music Showcase that I run.
So you got nominated for, was it Emerging Artist?
It was Emerging Artist of the Year at the Christian Media and Arts Awards.
So
I didn't
cool.
win, but that's okay. It wasn't
But
about
you know
that.
what? So cool to be nominated and
very encouraging.
Should be so proud.
Lots of great feedback about the song, Weight of the World, and then also just an encouragement as I'm 42, well, I'm 43 now, and, to keep making music. And I think for those of us who feel like maybe we're past it, actually the answer is no, you are not. It's not too late.
So true. I know. I went to a hen's night over the weekend, and I was sitting next to a lady that I've never met before, and she was one of the friends of a friend, and she was talking to me about her work, and she was kind of saying, I don't mind it, but I'd love to do something creative. But she was similar. She's like, might be too late.
No.
And I was like, don't. I was like, go for it. I was like, you need to go for it, because we will always, what's that phrase? You always regret the chances you don't take, or whatever it is. Because it's so true. We limit ourselves based on age or time or whatever it is, but
there's definite wisdom and there's counting of the costs. And I think if you have a family, if you have a mortgage, if you have responsibilities in that space, you do have to count the cost of that. But if you're single and childless like me, I think there's an opportunity I can live on toast. I don't cost a lot to run, and I share a house, and I'm pretty inexpensive to run. And so there is a level of that. And if you're a person of faith, it's asking, God,
trusting
where
God.
do you want me to put my hand? What are you asking me to step out into? And I think we have a lot of fear of change and of failure, but part of the risk of that is going, hey, I'm okay, and I'm inviting failure because I know that it's going to open a door that I would never have the chance to open if I hadn't learnt what I learnt.
So true. Have you seen that there's been that trend on social media about rejection therapy?
No.
There's all these Gen Zs who are doing this thing where we're so afraid of failure, we're so afraid of being rejected or whatever it is, that there's these Gen Zs who are doing stupid things, right? Ridiculous things, like waving down a post truck postie truck and saying like, can you give me a lift to this place? Like random situations where they know they'll be rejected or looked at weird or told that it's, you know, that's not going to happen, to like get used to that feeling of like being rejected or failing or not being able to, because we do stop ourselves from that fear of that feeling.
That's true. And I think that's a muscle that is a bit atrophied in, especially for young people. You know, in my age, being on social media, I did see a post the other day that talked about when you would go up to someone in real life and say, hey, you're cute, can I have your number? Or, you know, hey, I like you, would you like to have coffee? And in person they say no. The rejection sucks, but it builds a muscle. Yeah. Whereas in the online dating space, what actually is we're constantly shielding ourselves from that rejection.
So
we either
true.
Ghost or we, you know, don't ever really commit. We don't really press into that space. So we have this muscle of, you know, surviving rejection is not strong at all, and so we're messed up and we're not willing to take those risks. And I do think in life we do need to take that risk. That again teaches us so much, those rejections. The whole idea of 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb is that, you know, that helps us grow, and I think it's important to exercise that. I may not be, you know, chasing down a postie, but taking
it's
risks.
the little decisions and things we do to challenge ourselves and not let the rejection or the fear stop us from giving it a go. And I think that, you know, if you put it in like a Christian perspective, when you feel that God is leading you somewhere, you can kind of have that boldness to go, okay, we're going to figure this out with the Lord.
The obedience is what is important, not the result.
How it looks. Yeah, it's so true.
John 16:33, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world.
I love this verse.
Me too.
This is like my verse where I go, okay, everything's falling apart right now. You know when you have your little like I don't know, monthly mental breakdown. No, it's not a mental breakdown. I just feel like once a month I have a good cry about nothing. And then this is and it's not nothing.
The female hormones.
It's like the accumulation of like everything that is wrong and isn't wrong all at the same time. And I feel like this scripture is such an anchoring verse because it reminds us that no matter what we're going through, God is in it. He's before us. He is our foundation. He is the one that will get us through. And also, I just think even when we're going through really, really hard things, not just, you know, the monthly hormonal breakdown, like even when it's those really hard things, to know that in all of it, there is the security that Christ has overcome the world. Like there actually is such a safety in that.
Absolutely. I am a person who tends to avoid discomfort. I don't know if there's anybody else out there.
I am a discomfort avoider for sure.
I think something that shifted for me, we'll talk about it as we go along the week because it's a big part of my life at the moment, having falling in love for the first time this year and then having a surprise heartbreak. I realized that I would often make a decision to pursue resolution and to solve something really quickly. It's part of it, strength that I have, but also it would often come from a place of this is uncomfortable. I want to get out of this discomfort, so let's just fix this.
Yeah.
And I never looked at discomfort as a teacher, and I love that idea. I listened to a Michelle Obama book, and she talked about in one of the chapters about seeing discomfort as a teacher, and it's been really powerful for me of like, oh yes, I see a discomfort as something to avoid and to quickly move past rather than something that can teach me something. And when we sit in that discomfort, and I say this as a newbie in this area without a lot of wisdom or, you know, experience in it, but when we sit with discomfort for a little bit and ask it, what is this teaching me? What is it telling me about myself? What is it opening up about my relationship with God? How is it leading me to pray? I think that is where it makes it really valuable. It doesn't mean we have to wallow, but it means that we can move past that. And I do remember, you know, one of the biggest areas of discomfort for me in my life was when my mum died, sort of 18 years ago. And that was very yucky crying because it just didn't get better. You know, in that monthly hormonal freak out that we have, we cry and then we feel better and we move past it in a day or two. But this was just like pain that it wasn't, you didn't
wouldn't
feel
leave.
better.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice. And so I basically stopped myself from crying for a couple of years because I was like, this is too painful. It does not get resolved. I can't move past this. I didn't know how to process the pain. And I'm glad to say that this year, when I went through that heartbreak, I have become good at crying, Ash.
That's good.
I have
That's
said
good.
it's okay for me to sit in this. And I have been asking a lot of those questions. Okay, well, what is the pain of this? What is it teaching me? Because in this world, I will have trouble. And it doesn't mean I'm a good Christian if I never go through any hard stuff. And I think because I hadn't really gone through a lot of bad stuff, I'm an optimist. And so when you're an uber optimist and a positive person, even the hard stuff in life, you get past it pretty quickly. But I think it's sort of the downside to that for me a little bit was that maybe I didn't sit in things enough to get the lesson, to learn the wisdom. But it was just like, oh, it'll be fine tomorrow, and I would move on. And so both of those things about my mum dying and going through some of this heartbreak has really kind of sat with the whole idea that he has answers for us, and that knowing God is not about being rescued from the hard stuff, even though
So
it says
true.
he comes and pulls us out of the miry clay, that he is our comforter, he's our rescuer, he's a shelter that we can run to, a refuge, all of those things. But it doesn't mean that, well, if you know God, then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I think even in today's day and age, we're looking for something to make life easy, but what God does is he makes it rich. He makes life rich and full. It's not always easy, but it can be full. And I wrote a song in the heartbreak season that I've been through called Comforter, and the chorus says, Comforter, would you come? Would you catch these tears as they fall? Help me to hear your voice in the midst of it all. And right here, right now, I need you. And I would find myself, I don't know if I'll ever release this song. I think it might just be for me.
Yeah.
Who knows? Sometimes songwriting is for my own
Personal.
catharsis, but it would be that thing. I'd be in the midst of like questioning and wondering, and I would just be like, God, right now, here, right now, I need you. Like, I don't know how to deal with this, but I know that you're a comforter. Would you come? Would you speak to me? Would you show me who you are? And I think in response to the trouble of the world, that's the whole idea of taking heart is like, who is he? And that if we just go back to that first part of that verse, it says, I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. And I think the thing for me as I dwelt on this, that peace starts as an internal thing before it ever exists in an external space. It comes from, I know who God is. I know his resource that he has provided for me, his grace that's sufficient for me in this situation. Am I choosing to take heart, to actively activate that peace in my life? Am I calling out to him and say, would you meet me right now? I need you. Would you catch the tears? Would you speak to me? Because it'd be like, God, I'm having a really hard time. Would you do something? But we're not actively inviting and letting it in. I think there are sometimes
That's
there's
a
a
great
disconnect.
way to describe it, because you're so right. Sometimes we'll just be like, okay, God, rescue me from this. Like what you were saying, like, God, just take me out of it, pull me out of it, do this. But like more often than not, his word says, like, let me be your comforter. Exactly what you were talking about in those lyrics. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had that like direct correlation between, oh God, am I crying out for your comfort and peace, or am I only crying out for you to rescue me?
Rescue me.
And sometimes I wonder if that's where we get disappointed with God, right? Because we're asking for something that he's like, I'm growing you in this. I'm not going to pull you out of this. And so then we have this whole other layer of frustration or disappointment where we go, God, I didn't ask to go through this.
Yeah.
But he's like, I needed you to. I needed you to. But then we have like maybe sometimes the pride to think we can do it on our own. God, if you didn't rescue me, then I don't need you, you know? So it's interesting how it all works out. Hey,
it is. A funny meme that tends to go around at the end of every year is someone on the phone saying, just calling heaven to make sure I'm signed up for the blessings and good times package instead of trials and tribulations. I'm just on hold just to see which package I'm signed up for next year, because I didn't mean to sign up this year for the trials and tribulations.
That is brilliant.
But I think we do have that mindset of that we see that as a failure, or we see it as a difficult thing. And it's always hard to understand that when you're in it.
Yes.
But for me, as I've gone through this year, I'm like, okay, that was unfun in many ways. But what have I learned? Who has God shown himself to be that I didn't know? I never discovered him in that way because I've never been through that. So I never understood God in that space before. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for what I learned about myself and what I'm still learning. And I think the more that we can actively invite God into our situation, the more that we will realize the incredible resource that he has for us in that moment. And otherwise it's just like we're praying for this external thing and it doesn't happen the way we think it does. But God always turns up. It's whether we take his hand, I think, as to whether we recognize the impact in our lives.
So true. And look, maybe you're going through a tribulation or a really tough season. And, you know, like Kate said, when you're in the middle of it, sometimes it's hard to see out of it. But I think the challenge out of today's episode would be, how do we rest in God? How do we experience that peace and that strength and that comfort, not just to be rescued, but to see God as our comforter, like in those lyrics that you said, Kate? And maybe we see the change in our heart even more so when we learn to trust in God as our Father and as our comforter versus just saying, rescue me all the time. And it's not to say we can't ask him to rescue us, but learning how to really lean into him for that comfort and that peace versus just maybe even, you know, kind of pulling away if he doesn't do exactly what we think he's going to do.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. I hope that it encouraged you, that it's helped you through, and that it helps to challenge you through the season of life that you're facing, uplift you if you're feeling down, and most of all, I pray that you're able to draw closer and closer to God. I'm so excited to keep diving into the Word of God with you. I pray you're able to find moments of joy.
Is theological study at Trinity College the next step for you? Rocco, the resident dog, thinks so. Whether you're looking to upskill, pivot, or embark on a brand new journey, find out all you need to know at the Trinity College Theological School Open House Tuesday, October 14. Get a glimpse into life as a student at Trinity College Theological School. You might even meet Rocco. Register today. Search Trinity College Theological School Open House. Faithful learning for faithful living.